Okay, thank you everyone for joining from near and from far. Just make sure this here. Excellent. Okay. We're holding here in the Gemara in Mesechta Megillah. Near the bottom of the page, Yud Zayin Amud Beis, 17b. You have an art scroll. Should be on the table or should be over there. 17b3 near the end of the page. We're coming to the conclusion of the explanation of the brachas, of the blessings of Shemona Esrei. The Gemara, until now, has gone through the order of the 19 brachas and 19 blessings of Shemona Esrei. The last bracha we spoke about so far was Al Hatzadikim, the righteous ones. Originally, we learned that these two brachas, Malshinim, and to the informers, and the next bracha, Al Tzadikim, for the righteous, these two brachas, these two blessings, were originally one bracha, one blessing, in the time of the Anshe Knesset Agdola, the men of the Great Assembly, at the time of the beginning of the second Beis HaMikdash. Later on, in the first century after the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash, Gamliel and Yavne instituted that should be a separate bracha, a separate blessing, two blessings, one for Lamalshinim, for the informers. At that time, the Jewish people were going through tremendous troubles from within their own ranks, whether it was the Sadducees, who only believed in the written Torah, by Tusim, they were the early Christians. And they included in this bracha, in that blessing, the other troubles that the Jewish people were having, Oivei Amcha, the enemies of the people, and Malchus Harisha, the evil kingdom, which was the Romans. Shmuel HaKatan, mentioned yesterday, was the one who established the text of the bracha. And Shimon HaPekuli, Shimon from Afula, he was the one who made the order of what bracha should be where, in what order in Shemona Esrei, because the brachas, the blessings of Shemona Esrei, don't necessarily follow the chronological order, because the brachas are instituted based on what the malachim, what the angels praised Hashem after different things that took place. For example, after Avram Avinu had his bris, on the 8th day, the angels praised Hashem, Rifa'enu, Hashem heals us, and it became the 8th bracha. The 9th blessing took place by David HaMelech, when people were raising the prices unfairly, the bracha of asking Hashem for produce. The 10th blessing happened, 10th blessing of blow the great shofar. That took place later on, when the time of Yecheskel says, I will say what will happen in the future. The exiles will be gathered together. So the brachas don't necessarily go in chronological order. The order is based on psukim, on verses, or on svara. And who could give us an order? Specifically, Shimon HaPekuli. Shimon from Afula, who was the one who gave us the order of Shemona Esrei. So now we have learned so far the order of 13 brachas of Shemona Esrei, 13 out of 19. So now we need a scriptural source or another reason why the next bracha takes place. So David, what's the next bracha after Al Tzadikim? V'lirushalayim ircha. And for Yerushalayim, your city, Barachamim Tashuv, may be returned to Jerusalem with mercy. V'sishkoin b'soicha kasher dibarta, may you dwell within it as you declared. V'chisei David avdecha, and speedily establish the throne of David HaMelech, your servant. B'soicha tachin, inside of it. Build it very soon. Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem. Boine Yerushalayim, who rebuilds Jerusalem. This is based on what the Malachim, the angels, praised Hashem when David rebuilt Yerushalayim and moved the ark to Yerushalayim, and made Yerushalayim the capital. Right? Until then, the capital was Hebron. By Shaul, the capital was, I'm not sure, Meshamra maybe, a different city.
It's interesting. It says that she rebuilds Yerushalayim, and we learn some context means that, but next words that she building Yerushalayim, who builds Yerushalayim. Does that mean that some level of Hashem is right now building Yerushalayim as we speak?
Perhaps I'm saying maybe Hashem is rebuilding Yerushalayim, Shalmaila, Jerusalem in heaven. So this bracha of Boine Yerushalayim, we mentioned David HaMelech, as well as the next bracha, the next blessing is Et Semach David Avdecha, a bracha just about the kingdom of King David. May you reestablish the kingdom of David HaMelech, your servant. So for two brachas in a row, we mention David HaMelech. According to Kabbalah, there's 25 words in Yerushalayim Ircha, and it says that the actual Shlomo HaMelech, another opinion, was the one who established it when he built the Beis HaMikdash. So says the Gemara, why after the bracha of Ala Tzadikim for the righteous?
Excuse me, what's the union of 25?
Shar Koil brings it, something al Pi Kabbalah. It brings it from the Arizal, Siddur Arizal. I didn't check that up. Sharkle is from the Rebbe's great grandfather, Avram David Levut. He brings a
and how was he the great grandfather? The mother's side or father's side?
From the mother's side, I think, which today is actually the Rebbe's mother's yard side, Rebbe's in Chana, Vav Tishrei, 10th of Tishrei, 6th of Tishrei, and so this says the Gemara. V'kiven shekalu haminim. Once the heretics stop, which is in the bracha, in the blessing of Lamal Shinim, in the 12th blessing. So then the next blessing, the 13th blessing is Misrememes Karen Tzadikim. Right away, you discuss how the righteous will be raised up, will have glory. And he brings a scriptural pasuk that says, "V'chokarne rishayim agadeya, tremarna karnes tzadik." All the horns of the wicked, which means the greatness of the wicked, will be cut off. That is the 12th bracha of B'lam al-Shinim. And right away, connected to that, is the 13th bracha, tremarna karnes tzadik. The righteous will be exalted, which is the 13th bracha, where you're going to elevate the righteous. Now, since in the Torah, we always many times put together tzaddikim, righteous people, and gerim, and the converts. As you see over here in Parshas Kedoshim, if you look over here in Parshas Kedoshim, we'll just bring it up on the screen. It says, Seva Takum, you should stand up in front of those who are old. That means in front of Vadarta Pnei Zaken, you should honor the elders, which means the elders are the Talmidei Chachamim, the Torah scholars, right? V'reisa melekacha, you should fear Hashem, Ani Hashem, I am God. And the next, which is a bracha to honor Torah scholars, and the next pasuk is V'chi yagur itcha ger. And if a convert, a stranger or a convert, will dwell among you, you're not allowed to be mean to them, be cruel to them. You cannot say anything harassing to them. So we put together in the Torah honoring Torah scholars, or Darta Pnei Zaken. Zaken, we said, is Zeshakana Chachma. When the Rebbe called the Koilel over here, Koilel Tferes Kenim, the Rebbe says, Koilel for the beauty of the old. The Rebbe says, Zaken does not mean old. Rather, Skena means Zeshtakana Chachma, one who is wise. Jewish years don't go according to the passport. It goes according to the wisdom. So we put together the blessing of the Torah scholars, Zaken, together with the Ger, with the convert. So therefore, in this bracha of Ala Tzadikim, we mention also Ala Tzadikim, the righteous and the Chassidim and the pious, Valgerei Tzedek, and for the righteous converts. We put them together with the Tzadikim. The Koil Gerei Tzedek im Tzadikim shenemar nimnei seva tokum adarto pnei zakim v'samech le'chiyager itchem ger. An elder is one who acquires Torah wisdom, and a stranger is one who converted to Judaism, and we put them together, and therefore they're included in this bracha, in the 13th blessing of Ala Tzadikim. This is according to the Marsha. Ask the Gemara, the Heichan Misr Memes Karnam. Now, where will the glory of the tzaddikim, of the righteous people, where will they be elevated? Where will they receive all the honor that is due to them? And the Gemara answers, Yerushalayim, in the city of Yerushalayim. Shenemar, as is written in Tehillim. Shalu Shaloim Yerushalayim Yishloyu Oyavayach. Seek the welfare of Jerusalem. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Yishloyu Oyavayach. May those who love you prosper. The Targum over there in Tehillim writes, it's a prayer for this chapter of Tehillim, is a prayer for the peace of Jerusalem, which in Jerusalem there will be living many great Torah scholars. How do we see there are going to be many great Torah scholars in Jerusalem? Because it says, it's a prophecy in the future, old men and women will sit in the streets of Yerushalayim.
We're wise people.
Who's it going on? This Canaan is going on, the Zaken Zeshkan Chachma, the wise people. And so therefore in Yerushalayim is a place where all the Talmidei Chacham and the Torah scholars will gather together. And therefore, the blessing which comes after Ala Tzadikim for the righteous, the next bracha is V'Yerushalayim Ircha. And for Yerushalayim, your city, Hashem, may you return to it with mercy. Even nowadays, someone could be standing in Yerushalayim next to the Kosel, and you still daven this, because Yerushalayim that we're asking for is Yerushalayim that is obviously much greater and much more unique than Yerushalayim, as great as it is, and we always asking that it could be better and better. During the bracha of Yerushalayim, you ask, V'chisei David Abdecha, speedily establish the throne of David HaMelech. Although the next bracha is a Semach David Avdecha, Hashem should restore the kingdom to the house of David. So Rabbi Yasher Ber Soloveitchik, you know who that is?
Yes,
the Grizz.
Yes.
Yeah. He writes that the Beis HaMikdash, which is a beauty of Yerushalayim, is connected to Malchus Beis David, the kingdom of Israel. David was chosen to build the Beis HaMikdash. The Beis HaMikdash could not be built in the future by anyone else but Yerushalayim. Like it says in Tehillim, he brings down. It says, Yerushalayim habenuya, Yerushalayim, which will be rebuilt, the city which many people will go to. Kishama yashru chisas lemishpat chisas leveis David. Over there, they will establish a house and a throne for David HaMelech. Later on, in chapter 232 of Tehillim, it says, Nishba Hashem LeDavid. Hashem swore to David, Yivachar Hashem B'tzin, that he chose Har Tzion, he chose Zion. This is a place where I will dwell forever. So all these psukim in the Shir HaMailis all bring out, and it brings other psukim as well, that David HaMelech and the line of David HaMelech, the royal line, is connected to the Beis HaMikdash. And the Beis HaMikdash can only be rebuilt through the line of David HaMelech. So if someone comes today and says, okay, we conquered the Temple Mount, I want to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash, you have to check if this person is from David HaMelech's family. Even more than that, the Rambam writes that if somebody skipped these words of this bracha, B'chisei David Abdecha, speedily establish the throne of David, your servant, within it, they have not fulfilled this bracha. Meaning this is an important, integral part of the blessing. The main part of the blessing is that we're going to have the city of Jerusalem to be rebuilt with David HaMelech. So therefore, we mentioned David HaMelech in this blessing of Yerushalayim, although we have a special bracha, a special blessing dedicated to David HaMelech and his royal line afterwards, because aside for just building Yerushalayim, we're asking Hashem to build Yerushalayim through David HaMelech, because that is a condition that's needed to rebuild Yerushalayim. Now, in the second Beis HaMikdash, when Yerushalayim was reconquered, not by the family of David HaMelech, rather from Ezra and Nehemiah, later on the Chashmonaim, and you still had a Kedusha holiness in Yerushalayim. You could eat Trumas and Maestros and things like that in Yerushalayim. So there still is a holiness in Yerushalayim, but the main holiness will only be it was only established with David HaMelech. It cannot be established beforehand. Kings before or leaders, Shoftim, cannot establish the Kedusha. And it will only be reestablished in the future, once again, with David HaMelech. Continues the Gemara. But David, once Yerushalayim is rebuilt, Mashiach, who is from the line, the family line of David HaMelech, he will come as well. Turning the page to Chai, Daf Yud Ches, Daf 18, top of the page, of 18a1. As it says in Hosea, Achar Yeshuvu b'nei Yisrael. Afterwards, after they will build the Beis HaMikdash, the Jews will return to Eretz Yisrael. The whole, all the psukim before are talking about what will happen when they return to Jerusalem. Then they return and they will build the Beis HaMikdash. Uvikshu esale Shem Elokehem, and they will seek Hashem their God. There's David Malcolm and David their king. And we say this pasuk, this verse, by Kiddush Levana. We sanctify the new moon. So once Yerushalayim is rebuilt, so then David HaMelech, King David, will come. It's a very big question that's asked by many Mefarshim. What comes first? Does Mashiach come before the Beis HaMikdash is built? Or is the Beis HaMikdash built before Mashiach comes? Here, the order of Shemona Esrei we're saying is that first Mashiach will come. First, the Beis HaMikdash will be built, and then Mashiach will come. Let's finish what it says in the Gemara, then we answer that question.
Who's going to rebuild it? Mankind, or is it state who's doing
right.
it?
A very excellent question. Who will rebuild the Beis HaMikdash? Will it be man, or will it be from heaven? From here, this pasuk, this verse sounds that the Jewish people will build the Beis HaMikdash, and then Mashiach, then the Mashiach who comes from the line of David will come and redeem them. And therefore, the bracha of Es Semach David Abdecha, may David, your servant, speedily come forth. Raise a standard high with your deliverance. For we hope for your deliverance the entire day. Baruch Atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, Atzmiach Keren Yeshua, who causes standard of deliverance to flourish. So David HaMelech will come, and after the Beis HaMikdash is built. The Marsha over here, because of this question that Rabbi Farrell asked, says seemingly Mashiach has to be the one to build the Beis HaMikdash, not first the Beis HaMikdash being built, then Mashiach. So he says that the previous blessing is speaking about when it says in the Gemara, Yeshua b'nei Yisrael, Jews will return to Israel. Once they return to Israel, then Mashiach will come, then he'll build the Beis HaMikdash. He changes around the order a little bit. Meaning after the Jews go and settle in Yerushalayim, then they're going to want a King David, HaMelech, then David will come and build the Beis HaMikdash. That's how he explains. He says it's not the greatest answer because it seems like first the Jews move to Jerusalem, they settle the city, they build their own houses, then they look for David HaMelech, then they look for the Beis HaMikdash. Why is the Beis HaMikdash third on their list of priorities? Should be high on their list of priorities. The Radak of David Kimchi, so he says, when the word over here, Yeshuvah, return, does not mean Yeshuvah, return to Jerusalem. Rather, the word Yeshuvah means, like the word of the days we are in today, the days of Teshuvah. He says, Achar Yeshuvah, after the Jews do Teshuvah, Yeshuvah b'nei Yisrael, then David HaMelech will come. So he's not speaking about the Jews physically returning to Jerusalem. He's talking about the Jews doing Teshuvah. And when the Jews do Teshuvah, returning to Hashem, then the David HaMelech, Mashiach, will come and rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. There's a Maimer Chazal saying of our sages that there are three things the Jews despised. Three things that were given to them, and they despised all three of them. One is Malchus Shemayim, the yoke of heaven, kingdom of heaven. One is Malchus Beis David, the kingdom of David. First they rebelled, half the nation rebelled. Then after the second Beis HaMikdash, when the Jews had their own sovereignty, they did not go back to the house of David. And they also did not appreciate the Beis HaMikdash. So these three blessings in Shemoneh Esrei correspond to these three things. One is for the kingdom of David, which is a Samach David Avdecha. We're davening to Hashem, we're doing Teshuvah for this, that we abhorred the kingdom of David. We're doing Teshuvah for the fact that we did not listen to Hashem. That's the next bracha of Shvanka Leinu. And the other bracha for the Beis HaMikdash, we ask Yerushalayim Ircha, may Hashem return us to Yerushalayim. So we're doing Teshuvah. So the word Yeshuvah here for this bracha does not mean returning physically, says the Radak, or David Kimchi, to Yerushalayim. Rather, it means when Jews do Teshuvah. It says when Yisrael ois in Teshuvah miyad hein nigalim. When the Jewish people do Teshuvah, immediately Hashem will save them. And the Rebbe explains that every single Jew has at least had some thoughts of Teshuvah in their life, at least one thought of Teshuvah in their life. And there's a Gemara which says in Kiddushin that if someone has a thought of Teshuvah, it makes him at that moment a tzaddik gam, or a complete tzaddik. So at least in that sense, we could do Teshuvah. So returning to Hashem is what's going to bring about the rebuilding of the Beis HaMikdash. Now, what comes first? Building the Beis HaMikdash or the coming of Mashiach? So the Marsha explains, when the Jewish people came to Eretz Yisrael, they were given three commandments, three mitzvahs for the entire nation to fulfill. One of them was to destroy the nation of Amalek. One of them was to appoint a king on themselves. And one of them was to build the Beis HaMikdash. And the Gemara Mesechta Sanhedrin says that the order is, first, you have to appoint a king. Then the king will destroy Amalek. And then after he destroys Amalek, you will build the Beis HaMikdash. It's very interesting. The Rebbe, the last three Rebbeim, right? The Rebbe Rashab, the Frierdiker Rebbe, and our Rebbe. The first mimer that they said, each had to, once they took upon themselves to become the Rebbe, once they accepted the leadership, was corresponding to each of these three mitzvahs. The first mimer that the Rebbe Rashab said, he said it on the first day of Sukkot, or second day of Sukkot. His father, the Rebbe Marash, passed away on Yud Gimel Tishrei. And the first day of Sukkot, he said a mimer of Keser Yitnu Lecha. Keser means a crown, idea of appointing a king. The first mimer of the Frierdiker Rebbe was the continuation of The last member the Rebbe Rashab said in public on Purim was Reishus Goyim Amalek. Amalek is a first nation, and its destruction will be forever. It was first to attack the Jews. The first member, the Frierdiker Rebbe says, Reishus Goyim Amalek, the first nation, the head of all Klippa is Amalek. That's a mitzvah of destroying Amalek. And the Rebbe's first member was Basi Lagani Achosi Kala. Hashem says, I have come to my resting place, which is in the Beis HaMikdash. The Shekhinah could finally rest, which is in the Beis HaMikdash. So the Gemara Mesechta Sanhedrin says that the order has to be first appointing a king. The Jewish people appointed Shaul HaMelech, then destroying Amalek, he made a war against Amalek, then building the Beis HaMikdash, which happened through David and Shlomo. And he says when Mashiach comes, it will be in the same order. First, we have to appoint a king, then we will destroy the enemies, and then build the Beis HaMikdash. Beis HaMikdash has to be number 3.
Appointing a king, that's not Mashiach, obviously not Mashiach. No.
Us appointing the king. It says Hashem will appoint the Mashiach, and afterwards, after he redeems us, the Jewish people will accept him.
So Mashiach is the same thing as appointing a king.
Yeah, he will be. Yeah, Mashiach is called a melech, a king. He will be anointed with the by a navi, by a prophet.
So what Bob said, he's asking the king is the same as Mashiach.
So what comes first? Or Mashiach, yeah, the king. It says Malchus David, the kingdom of David is the continuation will be Mashiach, who was a king from David. The Rambam calls Mashiach a king. He says the description of Mashiach is Yamid Melech Mibeis David. A king from the house of David will rise up. Before any other descriptions, he has to be a Torah scholar and fight wars. The first description is that he's going to be a king.
So who's doing the pointing? Abraham to himself or the people? How do we do that?
So Mashiach will redeem us, but who will appoint him, who will anoint him as a king? Saying in the beginning, seemingly the way it goes is that Hashem appoints him as a king. Later on, he'll have to be reappointed, re-anointed by a navi, by a prophet, for all the Jews.
Prophecy will be reinstated.
Yeah, it says prophecy will be reinstated at the time of coming Mashiach. Much written about that. So what the Maharshal explains that the blessing of the Yerushalayim Ircha and for Jerusalem, the bracha which comes before King David, is not asking to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. Rather, he's asking to rebuild Yerushalayim from its destruction, from its physical destruction and from its spiritual destruction. That Hashem should go and revitalize, you could say, reignite Yerushalayim, make Yerushalayim, like it says in the previously, a place of from the previous bracha, a place of Torah scholars. We say in Haftarah, in the brachas, Samcheinu Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem make us happy. B'Eliyahu Hanavi Avdecha, with Eliyahu your servant, Eliyahu the prophet, U'Malchus Beis David Mashichecha, and with the kingdom of David. That's the second blessing. Before that, we say, Rachim al Tzion ki beis chayinu. Have mercy on Zion, on Jerusalem, ki beis chayinu, for it is our house of life, which is the Beis HaMikdash. We're asking Hashem first build the Beis HaMikdash, then to bring David HaMelech, bring back Eliyahu and David HaMelech. So from there it says that it does sound that the Beis HaMikdash will come before David HaMelech. So we have in the Medrash and other places which says that Mashiach will be the one in charge of building the Beis HaMikdash. We have in other places, it sounds like the Beis HaMikdash will be built before Mashiach comes. The Rebbe brings a lot of these questions, plus more. The Rebbe explains Mashiach is not just a one time that he comes. There's different stages of Mashiach. There's Mashiach before the Beis HaMikdash is built. There's even a stage before that how Mashiach affects what's going on during Galus, during exile. The Rebbe brought examples about Mashiach's changing the world, the removal of whether it was nuclear weapons or how Jews are slowly starting to come into Eretz Yisrael and different things, how Mashiach is already affecting during the time of Galus. His idea of Mashiach fighting spiritual wars, bringing all the Jews back to Yiddishkeit, fighting the wars of Hashem. And then there's, and Mashiach over there could be also a physical person, or it could be also the effect of Mashiach. It says it doesn't have to be necessarily either one. However, building the Beis Hamikdash per se doesn't necessarily must be halachically in Eretz Yisrael. Building the Beis Hamikdash could happen anywhere in the world. For example, it says every single shul is called a miniature Beis Hamikdash. There's a Beis Rabbeinu Bavel. It says in the Gemara, there was a place where the Nasi, the leader of the generation, usually was from the descendants of David HaMelech, and their shul was a shul of the Shechina, whether it was in Bavel. It's called Beis Medrash Shafi Yasiv. There was a shul, one was a winter shul, one was a summer shul. So the shul of where Jewish people daven, especially where he says a Nasi Adar, leader davens, all these shuls have in them the sanctity of the Beis Hamikdash as well. It's called the Beis Hamikdash Shebe Bavel, the Beis Hamikdash which is outside of Eretz Yisrael. Even further, it says that Mashiach, he will stand on the roof of the Beis Hamikdash, it says in Yalkut Shemaini, and he will announce, another Megillah Mangul Aschem, humble ones, Jewish people, the time of your redemption has arrived. The Rebbe asks a very simple question. If Mashiach is standing on the roof of the Beis Hamikdash, everyone knows Mashiach has arrived. What's the announcement about? And so the Rebbe explains, and we could explain this to mean, we learned in the summer in Hilchos Beis Abchira that Gagos Lo Niskadshu, the roof of the Beis Hamikdash, was not sanctified with the holiness of the Beis Hamikdash. So outside of Eretz Yisrael does not have the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, the holiness of Eretz Yisrael. So Mashiach will be outside of Eretz Yisrael, meaning during the time of Galus, the shuls outside of Eretz Yisrael could also have the sanctity of the Beis Hamikdash, and not just that, halachically is as well, because it says in the Medrash that Mashiach comes, all the shuls in the world will go join together, travel to Yerushalayim, and join the Beis Hamikdash, be attached to the Beis Hamikdash. So when you build a shul nowadays, you're actually building the Beis Hamikdash of the third Beis Hamikdash, because you're building something which will be attached to the Beis Hamikdash, or be part of the building of the Beis Hamikdash. Once it's attached to the Beis Hamikdash, we'll have the halachas, the laws that you can't remove an even, a stone from the Beis Hamikdash. And if one does, they receive a malchus, they receive a punishment. So even nowadays, they already have the idea of Yerushalayim and the idea of the Beis Hamikdash outside of Eretz Yisrael. So the idea that Mashiach could be there before the building of the Beis Hamikdash could be there as well. Meaning, in certain aspects you have that, in certain aspects you have that. Rabbi Fall asked the question: Will the Beis Hamikdash be built by man? Will it come from heaven? On the one hand, there's a medrash which says that Beis Hamikdash is ready in heaven; it just has to come down. And there's three different answers to that. One is the gates. The Beis Hamikdash itself is built in heaven, but the gates of the Beis Hamikdash will be built by man down here, and the gates are the main entrance to the entire to the building, and that's the most important part. And another answer is given that if Zachu, if the Jewish people are merited, they will receive the holy Beis Hamikdash, and if Lo Zachu, they did not merit, they will have to build it themselves. And the third answer is that we will build the Beis Hamikdash by ourselves. After we build the Beis Hamikdash, the Mikdash from heaven, the holy will come and enclose itself, put itself into this Beis Hamikdash, and therefore it can never be destroyed. It will become holy. All right, we'll pause over here. Continue now with discussing the idea, the Rebbe's explanation on Teshuvah. And we'll also talk about the Rebbe's mother, Rebbe Simchana. Rebbe Simchana, the Rebbe's mother, she passed away on this day, Vav Tishrei, the 6th of Tishrei. And of course, I mean, she was very special in her own right. She was a rebbetzin, a leader of a very large community. There's many people who had personal connections with her, whether she lived. She was a son. She was a daughter. Her father was a big Rav, a very big Meir Shlomi Yanofsky. Her grandfather was the author of this sefer, the Shara Kollel, right? About Ram David Levut. So she was, of course, great in her own right. But for us, what's most important is that she was a Rebbe's mother, someone who gave birth to the Rebbe. She lived in the city of Nikolaev when the Rebbe was born. The day that the Rebbe was born, the Rebbe Rashab, who lived in a small town of Lubavitch, pretty far away from Nikolaev, the Rebbe Rashab sent 6 telegrams to Rebbe Simchana on that day. 6 different telegrams. Telegrams you had to pay by the letter, you had to write every letter had to pay a certain amount of money, and he sent 6 telegrams to Rebbe Simchana on that day. The Rebbe Rashab already had a special interest, you could say, in raising the Rebbe, and she gave instructions. One of the instructions that he gave to Rebbe Simchana, Rebbe Rashab gave to Rebbe Simchana, they were third cousins. They weren't actually closely related. One of the instructions was that whenever the Rebbe wakes up in the middle of the night, like another child, like another baby, to feed, that she should wash negavasa for herself and for the baby, both before feeding and after feeding. Wash negavasa. From a very young age she already raised the Rebbe to be in an environment of Kedusha, of holiness. The Rebbe one time spoke on Vav Tishrei, his mother's yahrzeit. The Rebbe would make a fabrengen every year after his mother passed away in 1964, Tashna Chafei. And the Rebbe spoke about the custom of many Jewish mothers to sing to their children, teach their children the greatness of Torah. And they would sing the song, Raja Kez and Mandlin. And in Zaire Zis, you might be familiar with the song, Raja Kez and Mandlin. Raisins and almonds are very sweet. Those were the sweets and candies kids had back then. Torah is the best schira. Torah is the greatest merchandise you could possibly have. Torah is the greatest thing a person could possibly want. And the Rebbe says there's been the great luminaries of the Jewish people have been raised with this lullaby while they're a child, referring to himself, obviously. When Rebbe's father, Reb Levi Yitzchak, when he was exiled, so of course Rebbe Simchana did everything she could to try saving him, and then she sent him packages. He went to Kazakhstan. He was sent in exile to Chile, a small town in Kazakhstan, very far away, very remote. And he had only Sfarim, he had nothing to write, and he wanted to at least, no one to even speak to. All of his explanations in Torah. Interesting, the Rebbe Rashab had, the Rebbe's father, Levi Yitzchak, he had a first cousin who was also exiled, arrested by the communists and exiled to the same town. He passed away in 1942 from hunger and sickness in that town. And so the Rebbe's father was he wanted someone to talk to, he had no one to talk to in learning, and he wanted to at least write down. He had no paper and no pen. Rebbe Simchana went out to the fields, and she would pick berries, and she would cook it into ink, and she would make ink, and the Rebbe's father would write down his chidushim. And when Dovi went to the Rebbe's library, he saw pages from the Zohar of the Rebbe's father. And you see different in the margins of the sefer. That's where the Rebbe's father would write his chidushim, the things that he wrote. And on one page you have 3 different color inks, depending on the mixture of berries that they managed to put together that day, what you found in the fields. A pen. They used a feather, a quill. And just find the picture of the Zohar and then the picture of Simchana. Here's a picture. This is what Adobe saw. You see, I don't know, it's not so clear. But Rebbe Tzimchana, she eventually, Baruch Hashem, managed to escape Russia with false papers, false documents. That's the Rebbe's father. And Rebbe Tzimchana eventually made it to America, made it to the US. Let's see, open this image new tab. Let's see if that's more clear. All right, here. See, here's green ink on this part of the page. That's black ink. And the places where the ink is red on other pages. Rebbe Tzimchana, she had tremendous respect for her son, for the Rebbe. This is Rebbe Tzimchana, the pictures of her when she was young. There's much been written about her. She had tremendous respect for the Rebbe, for her son. The Rebbe every single day would go visit her. She had an apartment in 1414 President Street, the corner of President and Kingston Avenue. Rebbe Tzimchana, she was very sociable. She loved speaking to people. She loved meeting people. She would stand outside and people come over to her and greet her. She always had something good and kind to say about everyone. She had a special place in Shul in 770. She would come for davening on Shabbos and Yom Tiv. It's amazing. It is the day she passed away. It was a Shabbos. That day, a fire broke out, electric fire, and burnt up her chair where she was sitting in 770. She passed away on the Shabbos Kodesh on the 6th of Tishrei. I'll say a few short anecdotes about her life, where she lives, where different people who knew her in Alma-Ata or in New York. When she left Russia, she escaped Russia, she had to travel with a false passport, a Polish passport. And the passports then did not have any pictures on them. So, for a short time, the Soviet Union was letting Polish citizens leave after World War II. So many Chassidim, using bribery and using other means, they managed to get Polish passports and to go out of Russia on false Polish papers, including Rebbe Tzimchana. She had a false document, which was a mother and her son were going out together from Russia. And there were organizers, Chabad organizers, who would organize people, as many Chassidim as possible, to smuggle out of Russia this way. So they would put together families. If it had a mother and a father and then 7 kids or 3 kids, they would just put together whoever they could find and to put them as a unit and try getting them out from Russia. In this way, well over 1,000 Chassidim managed to leave Russia. And the bulk of the Chabad after the war is all as a result of this great escape, so to speak, from Russia. So she had a passport which had a mother and a son. And so my mother's father, he was a bacher, a yeshiva student then, and he did not see his family. He left, tried to escape in Russia by himself. And so he was a single boy, a single bacher. So they put him together as the son of Rebbe Tzimchana. And so he escaped Russia as her son, the false name. He has what?
Who's the boy?
My wife, my mother's father, Beryl Yunik.
Oh, you're saying that your mother's father was a boy and was officially her son
on the papers.
Wow, actually, that's actually a piece of history in your family.
It is an amazing piece of history, but it didn't stop there. One time they were leaving, they're crossing over a border. He was holding one of her suitcases, and so Rebbe Tzimchana, she told him, "Be very careful with the suitcase. Inside, you have a gartel from the Tzemach Tzedek." And so he started being very careful. Other people said, "We could hold it." He said, "No, he's holding it. He's doing good." And the Rebbe actually visited. She eventually, Baruch Hashem, managed to escape Russia, and she made it to Prague, and from there to Germany, from there to France. In 1947, the Rebbe himself traveled to France and picked up his mother. and the pictures of Rebbe Simchana from that time, you can see all the hardships she went through. These pictures, when she's in America, she's a lot happier, and she was by her son. The Rebbe visited her every single day. But later on, that's a picture, that's a video when she's at a Lag BaOmer parade. But the pictures when she was in Germany were a lot different.
This is when she was in Germany before she came to the States, right?
Correct.
But she didn't go back to Germany. Really?
No, she didn't go back to Germany.
Yeah.
She was in a DP camp, and so the pictures of her, she was, and when Rebbe picked her up, the Rebbe literally lifted up her spirits. And the Rebbe cared for her immensely. Besides her visiting her every single day for 15 minutes, which was all their time could really do. When the Rebbe's brother passed away in 1952, Rebbe Simchana's son, so the Rebbe made sure that she should never find out that her son passed away, because she said that she wouldn't be able to handle the news. And the Rebbe was in charge. The Rebbe would say, "Bring me all the mail that's going to her house before," to make sure that no news would come out. During the days the Rebbe sat Shiva, the Rebbe visited her every single day, and the Rebbe, my grandfather, would help and serve the Rebbe and the Rebbe's mother as well. And the Rebbe would say, as soon as I walk into the house, you should go to the street corner from the telephone on the street corner, call the house. I should be able to leave right away. The Rebbe Simchana would answer the phone, and she would say hello, and right away the Rebbe would tell her, "Oh, you could speak on the phone," and then the Rebbe would leave. The Rebbe will, then, for non-leather shoes, everyone wore sneakers. The Rebbe was sitting Shiva. So the Rebbe had my grandfather paint his sneakers black, that the Rebbe's mother should not find out that their son passed away.
Oh, was he here in the United States?
No, he passed away in England. Now, Reb David Raskin, who knew the Rebbe's mother from Almaty, from Kazakhstan. So one time when he visited the Rebbe's mother told him, "My son, ever since he has become bar mitzvah, he has never turned his back to me. And he never let his back show to me." And he says, he visits me every single day. Every single day on the way out, as the Rebbe walks out, the Rebbe moves a chair, the Rebbe adjusts a curtain or something to make it look like that, he's doing something. But Rebbe Simchana told Reb David Raskin, I noticed that he never turned his back to me, but he does it in such a way that I should not notice. But so he's always trying to make himself busy doing something. But Rebbe Simchana would never, he says, my son never turned his back to me since the day he became bar mitzvah. She one time told my grandfather, Reb Beryl Yunik, she says, "You don't know what a treasure you have with the Rebbe. I'm not telling you this to you because I am his mother. I'm telling you this because this is the truth." She would constantly be very, talk about her son, the Rebbe, be very proud of him. The Rebbe Simchana, she would go to many different Chabad events, women's events. She would go to chasanas, weddings. She made it a point of hers to go out of her way to make people feel comfortable. One time in the building where she lived in Crown Heights, they moved in a couple, a newlywed couple, and the bride was going to set up her apartment. And she met Rebbe Simchana, like, "Who is this?" This is the mother of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And so she gave Rebbe Simchana, "Here's an invitation to the wedding. I'll be very happy if you come to my wedding." And she's getting married somewhere in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And so Mrs. Sternberg, Zalman Garari, he meets a Rebbetzin, like, who was that couple, who's that late college? She says, "Oh, I'm going to her wedding." She says, "Why?" "She invited me." So right away she called up the family of the Kala. She says, "Do you know how old the Rebbetzin is? She's already in her 80s. She doesn't have a way of getting to Manhattan. How could you invite her? How could you tell her to come? She wants to come to the wedding. Go over to her, tell her that me and the chassan want to come for a bracha before the chasana, before the wedding, and we don't, you don't have to bother yourself to come up all the way up to our wedding." And so they went and they told Rebbe Simchana, "You don't have to bother yourself to come. And she says, bother? I want to go to the wedding. I want to make the chassan and kala happy. This picture?
Yeah, on the other side. Is that her?
This is her. This is when she was in Germany. This is when she was in a DP camp. This is a picture at a Chabad women's event. That's a famous picture of her taken. Here's a picture of when the Rebbe went to France to pick her up. There's several pictures of the Rebbe next to his mother. The Rebbe made a fabring. That's Rebbe Zechana's mother. That's her when she was young. The Rebbe as a child. Here's a picture of Rebbe Simchana. This is when the Rebbe went to France to pick up his mother in 1947. The Rebbe was in France for about 2 months, arranging the papers. The Rebbe had several farbrengens with Chassidim, but here's the first time the Rebbe met his mother since 1927 to 1947, 20 years. First time the Rebbe met his mother. So right after the Rebbe met his mother, they had a meeting for about, I think, an hour. Then the Rebbe came out with a Chassidim. I made a farbrengen. And Rebbe Simchana, already knowing her son and the greatness of her son, she told the Chassidim, then, this is shortly before Pesach, she said, the Rebbe's birthday is coming up, Yud Aleph Nisan. Chassidim did not know when the Rebbe's birthday was. Asked the Rebbe to make a farbrengen for Yud Aleph Nisan. So they went over to the Rebbe, could the Rebbe farbrengen for his birthday, Yud Aleph Nisan, and then that's how Chassidim found out when the Rebbe's farbrengen was, the Rebbe's birthday was, on Yud Aleph Nisan.
He wasn't yet Rebbe at the time, right?
Wasn't yet Rebbe. Now, what's very unique is after the Rebbe Simchana passed away, the Rebbe started having a farbrengen every single Shabbos that year for the first time. Every single Shabbos of the year, the Rebbe made a farbrengen. And during those farbrengens, the Rebbe started something revolutionary, the explanations on Rashi, the Urim and Rashi. The Rebbe's Rashi Sichas started after Rebbe Simchana passed away. What's the connection? There are some people who say that Rashi is learning a Chumash with Rashi elevates an neshama. Perhaps that was what the Rebbe was doing. But the Sichas of the Rebbe learning, teaching Rashi was directly connected to Rebbe Simchana. In addition, the Rebbe made a farbrengen every single week. Every Motzei Shabbos in New York, Rabbi Yossel Weinberg, he was a Chabad Chassid, and he, on the radio, he would give a shir on Tanya every Motzei Shabbos for half an hour. And he wrote to the Rebbe that he wrote to the Rebbe that now the Rebbe started saying explanations on Rashi every Shabbos. I'm going to buy another 15 minutes of airtime every Motzei Shabbos in order to give a repeat of the Rebbe's farbrengen and the Rebbe's explanations of Rashi from that week. I don't know how I'm going to cover it yet, but I'm doing it. The Rebbe wrote back to him, this gives me immense pleasure, and this encourages me to continue saying explanations on Rashi, meaning the Rebbe was perhaps thinking of stopping of it. And the Rebbe says, being as it's in memory of my mother, I'm going to pay for half of it. So the explanations on Rashi were started after that. The Haftarah on the first day of Rosh Hashanah is Haftarah about Chana. Chana, she did not have children, and she went to the Beis HaMikdash, and she davened to Hashem to have children, and she promised, I will dedicate my son to Hashem, Kol Yamav, his entire life. Whenever the Rebbe would say this Haftarah, the Rebbe would be crying copious tears, immense tears. Whether it was Al Nara Hazai Spaloti, I prayed for this boy, I prayed for this son, or I'm going to dedicate it to Hashem, not to Yisrael, Hashem, Kol Yom of his entire life. The Rebbe would speak about the Haftarah of Chana and cry very, very much.
About Rabbi Schneerson himself.
Yeah.
Was it because he didn't have children?
Perhaps, I never thought of that, but I think it's more because of his mother. His mother's name was Chana. And that's what Rebbe Simchana did. The Rebbe credited, meaning everything he did, all this greatness, to her and what she did. And she brought him to dedicate him to serve the Beis Hamikdash, to serve the Jewish people for the rest of his life. Saying the Rebbe said it's all due to the way that Rebbe Chana raised her. I mean, what's us for most is important, besides for her greatness, is just the fact that she brought us the Rebbe, and for that itself, that itself is the most important thing to us. Every year on her yard site by the Vav Tishrei Farbrengen, the Rebbe would speak about either her or about woman. So the year Tafshin Chavav, which would be 1964, our first yard site was a Shabbos, Vav Tishrei, and so there was a Farbrengen. The Rebbe did not talk about her. Then that summer, there was a Tafshin Chav Zayin. That summer there was printed a Sefer Minhagim, the book of customs of Chabad, and was printed at the Rebbe Farbrengens every year on Vav Tishrei's mother's yard site. There'll be a Farbrengen. The next year, Chav Zayin, 67, after the 6-day war, is when the Rebbe started the Tefillin campaign. And on Vav Tishrei, the Rebbe spoke many Farbrengens then about the Tefillin campaign. He says, women are asking, what could we do about the Tefillin campaign? We don't put on Tefillin, and we can't put on Tefillin on men. So how could we join the Tefillin campaign? The Rebbe spoke about Vav Tishrei, how we see Chana took her son, dedicated her son, and the Rebbe says that if a woman could buy pairs of tefillin for those who need tefillin. The next year, Tashin Chavches, 1968, the Vav Tishrei Farbrengen, the Rebbe spoke about the tremendous Sicha, Miriam Bas Bilga. Miriam Bas Bilga was a woman, a Jewish woman from a family of Kohanim of Bilga. And she, when the Greeks conquered Yerushalayim, defiled the Beis Hamikdash, she married a Greek general, and she herself went and she stormed into the Beis Hamikdash when the Greeks were looting it, and she took her shoe and she banged it on the Mizbeach, and she said, "Wolf, Lucas, how could you take the korbanos, the sacrifices of the Jews, and not help them at the time of need?" And the Rebbe spoke about her, saying how, look, even a woman like this, what's she worried about? How are you not helping the Jews? A woman, she married a Greek general. Imagine marrying a Nazi general, during the Holocaust. That's exactly what she did. And she goes into the Beis Hamikdash and she is disrespectful and takes her shoe and bangs them in his bayach. And what's she worried about? She's worried about how come you're not helping your fellow Jews when in the time of need. The story with the book that's right. And the Rebbe always spoke on Vav Tishrei Farbrengen about the importance of women, especially after the Shabbos candle campaign in Lamed Dalet in 73. And so the Rebbe always dedicated very much to his mother on Vav Tishrei. It was always a Farbrengen on Vav Tishrei. And so today's especially a very special day. Today is Vav Tishrei, and so Mr. Shem, everyone should have a good, I say Vav Tishrei, and Mirza Hashem, tomorrow will be a shir by Rabbi Darren, and then it won't be a shir on Monday, it'll be Yom Kippur, so we'll continue after Yom Kippur, Mirza Hashem.
Okay, great.